All right, so we're just going to quickly make a character rig in ToonSquid. I will be doing this with the path pen, the vector path pen, and I will be doing it with the strokes of the pen. I will not be doing any outlining of the pen, so there will not be any like this where I'm like drawing an outline or whatever. I'm not doing that. That's a no-no. You can if you want to, but I'm not going to be doing that. Instead, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make it as one line, and then we're going to make it the width that we need. Make sure we have it lined up good. All right, and make sure you have a center joint for the leg so it bends. Okay. Now, if you don't want it to have like the sharp edge, how it is right here, you can go and click on the dot and it'll say symmetric. You can click that. So when you bend, it has this nice curve to it. And then you can move the lines with the dots on them, and you can, yeah. So we have our black line here, which is great, right? Because that's what our outline is going to be for our drawing lines. Now, to make the skin color, because our character has skin, we'll need a skin color. So what we'll do is we'll open our layers, and we have our line here. We will duplicate the layer, and we're going to be on our top layer. So this is the bottom one, right? And this is the top one. This is above the other line. All right, so now we'll open our properties again, and we'll go here, and we'll go to the stroke color, right? We click it, and we choose our skin tone. Bang, right there, see? And make sure for both lines, the black line and now the skin line, that the fill color is invisible. It's transparent. Make sure it's all the way over here. Doesn't matter what color it is, it will not change. It will be over here. Make sure it's over here. All right. So now that we have our skin color, right, now we can mess with the stroke width again to gauge where we need our line to be. So see, now we have an outline here. See, skin color is a different width. So we can make it look like we have our line art. Perfect, right there. Now that we have our line and it bends and all that stuff, even the back one will bend too. Now that we have our one leg, we can make the decision to either make a new layer down here in the timeline and make another leg, and then do that for every piece of the body and then make that into a group. I'm not going to be doing that, but you can do that. You can make it all down here in the timeline. I'm going to be using the drawing layers up here. So it'll be all in here. So what I'm going to do for right now, what you want to do, all right, is make a group folder, okay? Select both. You can do that by clicking the layer and then swiping on the other layer, pressing and holding on one of those layers, and drag it up into group. Now it's in the group folder. Look at that. Isn't that great? Then we want to swipe over and duplicate, because we're going to be making the other leg. And we're going to choose the mouse icon in the top left. And we're going to go over here, drag it. Perfect. Look at that. Now we got two legs. Two perfectly good working legs. Isn't that great? And they bend and everything. They all that stuff, like this one bends, right? And then if we go to this other leg over here, this one bends too. Perfect, right? All right. So now we have two legs, but things are going to get confusing. So we got to look at which one is which leg, okay? And we want to name them. So this one, so on the right side, it's going to be on the top of the other leg. So we got to make this the front leg. Front leg. Perfect. Now the next one, this one back here, is the back leg. Back leg. Isn't that great? That's pretty good. We're already halfway done. Not really. All right, so the next part we want to do is we want to make another layer. And we're going to make the dress. There's a dress here. So this is going to be different when you have a character that has shorts or pants, you know, or no pants, you know, they're just straight to the body. This is going to be different. In this case, the dress is going to cover our legs, so we don't have to worry about our legs being connected to anything. So what we're going to do is have our path pin selected, right? So we can draw, and we're going to draw our hips, stomach, and chest. So we're going to do our hip. And so now we have our hip area of our character. But you can see that we have an opening here. You don't want that. So for this character, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Properties, in our Path Layer. Make sure you have Path Layer selected, and we're going to scroll down. Make it easier to look. We're going to scroll down, and we're going to change the width a little bit because it's looking a bit thick. All right, but then remember the fill thing we talked about earlier? We're going to change the color to it. We're going to add color. So we're going to go from transparent to color. See that? Fills it in. Perfect, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to select nothing. We're just going to dot out here away from every other dot. Okay, and then we're going to make our stomach shape. Now that we have our character here, we'll be able to morph and all kinds of stuff with the body. And so now we'll go for the next part. We don't need to see the body too often if you're following a sketch that you've already drawn. So you could turn off the body, and we're going to make a new layer, and we're going to do the same thing that we did with the legs, but for the arms. So we're just going to do boop, and down here, boop. There we go. See, we got an arm. Don't forget to add the dot in the middle. See, we have our fill on, so we can see the fill color. We don't want that. So what we want to do is go into our properties, right, and turn the fill off. So we're going to click the color and make it go transparent. So now when we move, you don't see a color. All right, we're going to keep it black. So that's our line. And then we're going to do what we did with the legs. We're going to duplicate the layer. All right, and then we're going to go back into the properties, and we're going to change the stroke color again to skin. Okay, and then we're going to lower the stroke width to give us the line art. See, just like we did with the legs. So now that we have our arm, we have the outline and we have the color. We're going to do the same thing exactly how we did for the legs. So we're going to make a group folder. We're going to name it, no, don't name it yet. we're just gonna select our arm layer and then swipe to our other arm layer. We're gonna press and hold and drag into group. Now it's in its own group. We're gonna duplicate it and we're gonna move it over. Bang, look at that. A perfectly good working arm. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so now we can start naming things. Because this is the front arm. So we're going to do front arm. Perfect. The other one, that's the back arm. We're going to do back arm. Isn't that great? And I guess while we're at it, we can name our body. We can name it body. B-O-D-Y. Look at that. Psh, body. Okay, we're not going to worry about where things are, you know, and all this stuff. Like both arms are on the top. We're not going to worry about that. So now, we have our neck. We have the neck. Okay, so we're just going to make a new layer. Doesn't matter where. All right, just turn your body off so you can see. We're going to do select our path pin, our vector path pin. We're going to do boop. Look at that. I messed up already. All right, one line. Change the width. Make sure our fill color is transparent. Change the width of it. Boom, look at that. Got a neck. All right, duplicate that layer. Perfect. Make sure it's on the top. Change the color to skin. Then we come back and we change the width of it. Perfect. Look at that. We got a neck. We're going to make a group for said neck. We're going to select our layers and we're going to put it into a group. We're going to name group neck. Perfect. Now we have a neck. Our next part is going to be our collar on our neck. So our body is going to come, well, our body's going to turn off. We're going to turn our body off. We're going to turn our neck off. We're going to make a new layer. All right. Now you can make the collar using the vector pen if you want. I'm going to select a brush. I'm going to select vector, and then I'm going to choose, I'll choose the dynamic size one. Make sure it's black. Right, and we're going to draw the shape of our collar. Now you can fill the color with white. So we'll just name it collar. If it's gonna bug you that much, like it's bugging me, right, we can move the neck up. In the same spot that it is, we're just gonna move the neck up so we don't see it in the collar area. So we're just gonna put it right here. So we're going to make a new layer. We're going to go back to the path pin, the vector path pin down here, okay? And we're going to do shapes. So we're gonna choose the top right up here, right? You can go down here and do this stuff as well. I'm gonna choose up here. I'm gonna choose the ellipse, okay? And I'm gonna press and drag out my shape. Now, I'm going to click the mouse button in the top left, and I'm gonna move the circle around, and I'm gonna shape it to what I need. Now, we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the arms and the legs. So we're just going to duplicate, and now we're on the top circle, and we're gonna go into the properties. We're gonna go down. Now, in this case, this is a filled circle. There's no line here, no stroke. So what we're going to do is keep the stroke transparent on here, and now we go to the fill and we choose the skin color. Then we go back. All right, we're just going to shrink the whole circle. So grab a corner and shrink inwards. Okay, so now that we have our head, we are going to go back to our layers. We're going to open a new layer as a group folder. We're going to name this one Head. Perfect. Now we're going to grab our other layers and put them in here. Now they're in here. Isn't that great? In this case, we can merge, if you want. We can merge these two layers together. Don't do that with the other stuff that needs to bend. This head doesn't need a bend. So we're going to merge down, and it doesn't lose the quality of the drawing or any of that stuff either. It's going to get a little bit tricky here. So we have our head, but as you can see, there's hair on the front of her face, and there's hair on the back of the character. So if we put hair on the front, it will cover the front of the character and not go behind the dress and the arms and all that stuff. So we got to make it two separate pieces. So for our head area, we want to make a new layer inside of our group. So open your head group, right? Click the plus sign, click layer. Perfect. Now we have another layer in here. We have our head and we have an empty layer. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to turn off my head layer. The layer inside of the group, not the group itself. We still want to be able to see what we're drawing. So I'm going to click my pen. I'm using the brush again, the dynamic size vector brush. All right, and I'm going to draw. Is that looks good. That looks good. Good. Now, I know that there is color on this hair. So what you want to do to make it easier on yourself is to go to your sketch layer, all right, and make the opacity brighter, and you'll be able to press and hold to color pick what you want. So if you want to get the exact color of your drawing, you can do this, or you can have a second drawing next to everything and you can just color pick from that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color pick, and I'm going to kind of guess. I'm not going to be fully accurate on it. So we're still on our line here that we have. All right. And I know the general shape that I need to draw. So I'm just going to draw the general shape that I need with the color. And we're only going to do the front part of the hair. All right, we're not doing anything with the back or the top or where the ears are, or any of that stuff. So we have our colored here. I'm just going to fill it in. Now I'm going to change to the brighter part of the hair. And I'm going to draw that part. I'm going to connect it down here. Perfect. I'll fill that in. So now we have our front part of our hair. Now that we have our head and all that stuff here, see, now we can turn the head layer on and we can see that there's an issue here, right? So now, while we're still in our layer here for the hair, we can fix this. So we're going to grab our color and we're going to go up and over. Perfect. Look at that. And we're just going to color it in. That looks great. I'm going to do that over here. So it covers the head portion of the drawing. That looks great. Perfect. So now that we have our head and the front part of our hair, we can move on to drawing the back side of the hair. So what we want to do is draw it on the front of everything that we have here so we can see where we're coloring and drawing at. Or if you want, you could turn off all the layers, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to make a new layer outside of the head group. So it's on its own layer. It's going to be above everything else. I'm going to make sure my line is black. I'm going to be using the brush again, the vector brush, not the pen down here, okay? And I'm going to draw the general shape of the hair. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the body off so I can see my lines when I'm drawing the hair. So I'm going to stay on the same layer. I'm going to color pick my colors. Okay. And then I'm going to use the same pen. I'm going to line up my line here for my color. Perfect. Now make sure that you follow through though. All the way through. Make sure it connects. Make sure there's a connecting line here. All right. Then I know that there is a second color here at the bottom of the hair. So now I'm going to color drop my colors onto this hairline. Drag the layer all the way behind everything. Everything's behind it. Or sorry, everything is in front of the hair. The hair is behind everything else. Now we are going to make the feet, which is our little slippers down here. We'll turn off our legs for right now. And we're going to need to draw them in an order. So we have our front leg, and if we want, we can put it in the folder with the leg. So we can turn off our leg like this. Rather than the whole group, we'll add to our group by adding a layer. I'm going to be using the brush again, not the vector path pen. I'm going to make sure my line is black. I'm going to draw my slipper. Now that we have our slipper done, we'll just drop a color in it. Looks like it's a bit pink. So we'll just, boom, right there. Perfect. So now we have one slipper for one leg. We can copy, all right, and go to the next leg back here. Make sure we turn on our other leg. We could turn off that grouped layer for the front leg and have our back leg here. Going to click the leg shape, not the group. I'm going to click inside the group. I'm going to click the shape and I'm going to paste above. And it's going to paste the slipper in there. Perfect. Now that we have both of our legs, both of our slippers, we are going to move on to our little ears that we have on our character here. You got to make sure that you place these in a certain order as well. So we have our head layer, right? We're not going to use it there. We're going to go behind the head layer. So we're going to go just behind it. So we're going to make a new layer. We're going to turn off our head layer. We're going to turn off our hair. All right, and now we're in our right ear. So our front ear. We're going to use the brush again, and we're going to close off the ear. Like I said, it's not going to be pretty. All right, now that we have that ear over there, we have another ear over here, but it's behind the whole head. It's behind the head and the hair. So what we want to do is that we are going to make another new layer, and this is going to be back ear. And we're going to draw this back ear. We're going to make it closed off just like the front one. Perfect, look at that. Now we just drop color into those. Now that we have this, so we want to make sure that our front ear over here is behind our head and hair in the front. So make sure it's behind this piece here. All right. It's not going to be behind the back of the hair. It's going to be inside the hair right here. See, it's in between. Right, so there's an illusion that it's in the hair, you know? But the back ear, we need to press and hold on the layer and bring it all the way down behind the hair. So now it's behind everything. You see that? It's back here. Real quick, I'm going to change my color for my pen. I'm going to close my layers. I'm going to name my layer down here Claire, the character's name. All right, so now that we have our character, no eyes, obviously, no hands, I'm going to make a new layer. Okay, and this is going to be our eyes. We're just going to go up, eyes. Right here, perfect. So now I'm going to turn off, down here, I'm going to turn off my character layer. I'm going to make sure I'm selected on our eyes layer. Okay, and real quick, I'm going to go into my settings, going to make sure that I'm going to be making one frame for each drawing. So I'm in here, one frame. So I make one drawing right there. So now I'm going to make my eyes animated. So I'm going to start with our neutral face. If you want, you can have the pupils on a completely separate layer so you can move them around and stuff like that. I'm not going to be doing that on this one. I'm just going to be drawing a very simple character rig. So the eyes are only going to move if I draw them to move. Okay, and then our little nose. We're not going to be doing the mouth. Mouth is going to be on a separate piece. We're still selected on our eyes. We're not doing anything to the character, just the eyes. We're just going to fill in some color. Perfect, that looks great. So if you notice, the character has like dark rings on this. So if you have a character that has something like that, you can go into your eyes, make sure you have your pen selected, and make sure it's the right color. that you want, go into your layers, add a layer, make sure it's below your eyes. Okay, and then we're gonna just color behind our eyes. And then we have the next set of eyes that we can draw. So we're just gonna make another drawing. Make sure we have a black line, and we're just gonna do a closed eye. So now we can blink and all that stuff and everything. I'm only going to be doing these two. If you want to have more facial features, like bigger eyes or closed or wink, like a wink, you can do that, obviously. So we want to make it a symbol. So we click on the layer, create symbol. So now we can move it around and stretch it and make it the duration as long as we want. But as you can see, we're just kind of batting our eyelashes. You know, we have no control over it. So what we want to do is click library on the top. Now that we made it a symbol, So click a library, click the select button on the top right, click on our eyes, and click the edit button on the bottom left, edit. Now we're in our symbol. We have our eyes right here. Our character's not here because this is a symbol of our eyes. So what we want to do is click on the number 1 that's down here in the timeline down here. Number 1. And click set marker. And make it open. All right. And then click on the number 2. Set marker. Closed. Now, we want to go back to our character. So in the top left, we have our scene. Scene 1, we click that. Now we're back here. Now we can have control over our eyes. So if we click, make sure you're on our eyes, and you click the properties on the right side of our screen, and when we're on symbol layer, we scroll down, all the way down, and we got time. Select for markers, we click it. And we can choose when our character decides to blink. So we don't want our character to blink here. No, we open. So now we have them all open, right? But maybe I want my character to blink right here. Just blink real quick. So we can blink a couple seconds, boom, now we're open again. So now when we play, you can blink. You know, that's how that works. We still have to draw our sleeves for our arms and our hands for our arms. We're just going to do that real quick. Like I said, we can do the same thing we just did for the eyes, but for the hands. So we can switch out the hands when we want. We could do that by doing the same thing we just did, but for hands. So we'll just do another layer. We'll call this front hand. Don't have both hands on the same layer if you're going to do this way. If you're going to have your hands change, they need to be able to be changed separately from each other. So we have front hand, which is our front arm. And we're going to draw I'm going to be using the pen. Our brush right here. Down here, I'm on the hand. And I'm going to draw a nice hand. We got a perfectly good hand right there. Now you're going to be like, well, what about the color? Well, I'm glad you asked. So what we can do, I'm going to grab the color of our hand. I'm going to turn the character off. And I'm going to connect our lines. Just like that. Make sure it's closed. And then we're going to color drop. when we can. We're going to color drop into it. There we go. So now when we have our hand, it lines up with our arm. Turn on onion skinning, and we'll just have another hand. We'll just draw, we'll just draw a fist. Draw a fist. We'll go, you know, maybe she's angry or something, you know. And we will turn off our character layer again. Grab our skin tone. Go across again. Color drop. Make sure our lines are closed so a color drop will work. There we go. So now when we switch through our hands, we'll turn off the onion skinning. When we switch to our hands, we got an open hand, we got a closed fist, you know. We can do the same thing that we did with the eyes. Okay. We'll create symbol, and we'll go up to the library. All right, and we have our hands on the left side right here. See, front hands. It's hard to see, but you know, we'll click select, click front hands, and click edit. Now we have our little hand down here. See? And we'll do, we'll set our marker again. Open. Fist. There we go. And then we'll go back to our scene again. And we'll be able to change the hand shape when we want. We click in the properties, making sure you're on the symbol layer. And we can select from markers, and we can select between those, and we can keyframe. That's how we're doing this. We're just going to be able to keyframe the characters. So open, close, and all that stuff. All right, their arm, what we're going to do now, we're going to move it behind our body. So our back hand would not be able to go behind the dress. So for our back hand, I'm going to do it in the drawing layers up here. But I'm going to do it on the character layer. So I'm going to go to the character down here. And then I'm going to go to our drawing layers. Okay, and see we're on the back arm. We're on the back arm right here. I'm going to open. And I'm going to draw the hand. So we have our hand, we have our arm, it's on our back arm, all that stuff. Okay, so now that we have everything here, we're going to turn our hair back on. So we can do is go down here in our timeline, make another layer, call this one mouth. So now that we have our mouth, so we could draw like a neutral face, and then go to the next one, you know, add a drawing. We could turn our onion skin on, and we could do open mouth or something, you know. We could do, ooh, you know, ooh. You know, ooh. We'll color it in a little bit. There we go. See, ooh. And we'll just do the next one. We'll do like the famous bean face. You know, people don't seem to like that anymore, which is all right. It's been overused a lot, so we'll just perfect. See right there, bam. Make sure it stays in the general area. Okay, so now we just have our mouth. Okay, we can color it. You know, an open mouth, teeth. And we got a tongue. So we'll just color the tongue. Boom. There we go. See? Boop, boop, boop. Now they can talk and stuff. So we'll do the same thing that we did for the eyes and the hands. We'll make it a symbol. And we'll open up library. We'll have mouth right here. So we'll hit select on the top, select our mouth, hit edit, and we have our mouth. We don't have to worry about that. We'll just click on setting markers. So we'll close. Ooh, you know, and S or something, you know. And then we'll just go back to our scene and we can move it and we can select our markers so we can choose what our character is going to say so we can do lip syncing. So real quickly, we're going to add our sleeves. So make sure you select our character. All right, we're going to go into layers. We're going to go to above our front arm. We're going to make a new layer. All right, we're going to use, I guess it doesn't really matter which one you use, but for this, I'm going to use the path pen. Okay, and I'm going to, nope, I forgot. I'll do freehand, and then I'm going to make the shapes that I need. Don't forget to change your cap size or shape or whatever. I'm making mine round. My fill color is going to be black because it's going to match the dress. Okay. I'm going to change the width because I feel like our width is massive. Okay. And now that we have that going for us, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. So we're going to make another layer above the back arm, but it's going to be behind our dress. But we're going to do the same thing. Okay, and then we're going to make it symmetric. So when things bend and stuff, it's going to work. Make sure we're going to be filling the right color. Right, and then we can change their thickness and stuff like that. Okay, so now that we have that, we have our sleeves. This sleeve is looking a bit short. So we're just going to go a little bit longer. Actually, our sleeves are looking a bit short altogether, so we're just going to extend our sleeves more. We're going to do that to the same on this side, so we're going to go back up. And we're just going to grab our sleeve and pull it down a little bit. Perfect. So now that we have our long sleeves, all right, we can start grouping things together. So what we want to do is in here, in the timeline down here, we want to go to the top, we want to make a group layer, and then we want to select everything to do with our character, press and hold, and drop into our group. So now we have our grouped layer. Close it, make sure you're selected on the grouped layer. All right, you can name it main rig. Perfect. Now that we have that selected, we can go into our properties, right, and we can go to effects. Now we can start adding our bones to everything. Okay, so now that we have our bones selected and we can start adding our bones, we can start moving things down. I have a video on how to add bones in the order that they go in, but I'll quickly go through it here. The hip, chest, head, and then when we make the arms, we got to click on the chest one again and make the arms. So we go down halfway because it bends, and then while we have that still selected, not on the chest but the arm now, we go down again. And if you want, you can make another one for the hand. Okay, then if we're going to make the other arm, we select the chest and we make the arm, we make the other part of the arm, and then we can make the other hand. Since this hand isn't going to be moving or doing much anything, I'm not going to be drawing another line or another bone for that one. It's just going to be one bone for back here. So now for the legs, all right, we're going to click the hip bone, and we're going to draw a line for the leg, and then another line for that leg. Okay, then we're going to draw, we could draw the foot too. And then we're going to click the hip again. Click hip. All right, and we're going to draw another line for the leg, or another bone, sorry, another bone for the leg back here now. And we're going to draw another one, and then really close, we're just going to go for the other foot. Perfect, just like that. Now, for the ears, we can click on the head bone, which is this big one, all right, and we'll draw a bone for the ear. And we'll click it, click the head again, all right, and draw the other bone for the other ear, just like that. Now, the hair and the back, we'll do that later. All right, so real quick, while we're going to bind the bones to the drawing, we want to make sure that we are going to bind the bone to our back layer for our limbs. So we have the skin, and then we have the line art, which is the back layer that we copied. So if we go to our character, all right, and we look at our layers, you'll see that we have our back arm that's right in front of us right here. We have the back part, and we have the front part of our arm, which is the skin tone. Make sure that we are selected on our main rig layer. So when we go to our bones, we have our bones here that we put on. If you want, we can click the plus sign and we can add a bone. We'll just put one right here, and that'll be for the back of our hair. I didn't go to a different layer to add that bone or anything like that. It's all still on this grouped layer down here on this timeline. So now, very carefully, we want to add the bones to the drawings. We do that by clicking the bone, so our hip bone, and then we click it again. And then we tap Edit Bone Binding. Okay, and then we bind the bone to the drawing piece that we want. So for this, it would be our hip, it will be the bottom of our dress. So our dress area down here, you can see it selected. Our whole body, because that's where our dress is. So we'll just click it again, and this is bind to drawing layer. Don't bind to animation layer. All right, we'll just bind to drawing layer. And we'll do that again to this one up here. So we click this chest bone, click it again, edit bone binding, click the dress, so it highlights the whole dress. Click it again, bind to drawing layer. All right, now for this area, we're gonna click the chest again. Click the chest bone, boop. All right, edit bone binding. And we're gonna click our collar bone, or our collar for our shirt or dress. We're gonna click that, click it again, bind to drawing layer, and we're gonna do that for the neck as well. So click the chest bone, edit bone binding, click the neck. So we have the neck right here selected. You can see it goes up, the blue square or our blue rectangle. We click it again, bind the drawing layer. Now since we have the neck as our skin tone and it's two separate layers, we got to click on our chest bone again, edit bone binding, all right, and we want to click the line art that's on our neck. And it will do another rectangle again. We got to click it again. And then bind to drawing layer. There we go. So when we move it, it all moves together. So carefully, we go to our upper bone for our back arm. We click the bone, and we just do it all over again. We click it. We're going to click the sleeve of our dress. Don't click the dress itself. Don't click over here. Click the sleeve. So we click it, bind the drawing layer. We click the upper bone again, edit bone binding. We click the arm. So I'm going to click the skin. So it's going to select our whole arm, bind the drawing layer. Then I'm going to click the bone again, edit bone binding, and I'm going to click the line art for our arm, just like we did for the neck. And it's going to select the whole arm again. So make sure you click the line art and bind to drawing layer. We're going to do that for the lower part of the arm as well, exactly the same way we just did it up there. So our head, we'll click the head bone, edit bone binding, click our head shape. So now we're going to click the head bone again, edit bone binding. We're going to click the eyes. See how it does the rectangle for the eyes. We'll click the eyes here, bind to drawing layer. We're going to click the head bone again, bind, and we're going to click the mouth. So the mouth stays with the head when we rotate it. So look, see everything is moving with it. We're going to click the head layer again. And we're going to bind the hair, the back of the hair. Make sure it's bound to the head as well, so when we move our head, the hair moves. Okay. Now, for the bottom of the hair, we're going to click this bone down here. All right, and we're going to bind it. Real quick, I want the head and this bottom hair piece to rotate together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the head piece right here, our head bone. It's named B3. Right? We can name it whatever we want, but default name, it's B3. And if I click the hair down here, the bone hair down here, it's B17. So we're going to keep that in mind. So we click the head bone. So it's selected. The head bone is selected. And we're going to go to bone, edit bone hierarchy. We're going to click it. And this is going to get really confusing. But remember, our head is B3. So we have that selected. We have the bone up here, B3. And then this bone, remember, for the hair is 17. All right, so the 17 is right here. So we're going to move. We're going to press and hold on 17. And we're going to move it underneath B3. Perfect. So now, we'll go close that. Now, when the head moves, the hair moves. Okay, so if you move your head and you tilt it, and then you want to move the hair, you click the bone for the hair, and you can rotate it, and all this stuff. So now we're going to bind the rest of the bones to the parts that it needs. So our ears, we click on the bone for the ear. We click the ear. We click the other ear. Bind it. So make sure when you do the arms, like I said, make sure you do the sleeve. We have our sleeve here. Then we bind our skin for our arm. We do that just like we did on the other one. And then make sure you do the line art for the arm as well. And don't forget our little hand down here. Now when you bind the legs, depending on how you drew the body and all that stuff, you can bind the legs to the dress, which is the body, if you want. I'm not going to do that at first. I'm going to see how this looks first. So I'm going to click our leg bone. I'm going to click the skin tone. I'm going to click the bone again. I'm going to click the line. And then we bind our foot to our shoe. And we do the same on the other side. Okay, so now we're going to see, let's look at how our legs bend without the dress. Okay. So if we want to have our leg like bent like this, obviously the dress isn't going to move. So if you're okay with that and you don't need the leg to come up that high or something like that, that's fine. I'm going to try to bind our legs to the dress. I click our leg, edit bone binding, and I'm going to bind it to the body, a whole dress. All right, let's see how this works. So it stays underneath the dress and the dress moves around. That looks good, actually. I like that. So we're just going to test a few things. Looks good. Yeah. So we're going to click our head bone, edit bone binding, and we're going to click the front of our hair. The front, not the back. There. So now, when we move our head, everything moves with it. We're going to add 2 more bones. Our bone's already selected. We're going to unselect the bone. Make sure the bone with the mouse cursor is selected. All right, now just click on nothing. Click on nothing over here. Just over here, nothing, away. We have no bones selected. We're not selecting any bones. Okay. Now we're going to click the plus sign with the bone. All right, and we're going to draw a bone here. All right, and then we're going to click away again. Make sure we're away from everything. Okay, now we have nothing selected. We're going to do it to the other foot. So we're going to go and do another line right here. Perfect. So now that we have those bones, very carefully, we're going to select on the left side over here, the bone with the mouse cursor on it. Perfect. Now, we're going to open up our properties on the right side over here. Make sure that we're in this area of our menus where our bone effects are and the names and stuff like that. Very carefully, we're going to make a IK target. Bottom leg bone. So we have our bottom leg bone on the front leg. And we're going to look at the name of it. So this is bone B10, okay? And this down here, our extra bone that's not connected to anything. So if we go to move this bone, it's not moving anything, right? So this one is B18. So real quick, we're going to select the bottom of our leg. We select the bottom leg bone, not the foot, all right, just the bottom leg bone. And we're going to go to IK target, and we're going to click that. And we're going to scroll down until we see B18. Perfect. Right here. So now that these are together, so now when I move this bone, it will bend the leg. I won't have to move all the other bones. I could just move this, and it will bend the leg. Now we do that the same thing to this side now. This random bone that we have down here and the bottom of this leg, the back leg. So we look at the back leg for that one, B13, and we click this little bone down here. What's this? B19. All right, so we click the bottom of our leg on the back side, right here, this bone. All right, and we look for B19. So we click on the IK target and we look for B19 right there. So now we back out and now we can move these little bones down here. Don't touch the legs. Don't touch those. Touch these little bones down here. So we can move our legs around and you can see that we're moving them around and we could bend them and all kinds of stuff and make them go out and all that stuff. We could do that to both legs. Both legs could do that now. Okay? Looks great.